what you focus on, you feel. And a lot of people are very much so conditioned
Mm,
to always focusing on the bad, focusing on what's wrong, focusing on what could go wrong. And
mm,
it's like if you switch that and you begin to train yourself, train your brain essentially, and to see the silver lining and like what good can be taken away, what
mm,
lessons can be learned, how can I grow, how
mm,
can I take this and pivot, what different perspective could I
mm,
take on? So shifting your focus in that way,
mm,
your physiology, people fall into these like if you look at people's patterns over
mm,
any period of time, whether it's a week or a month or years, a lot of people are doing the same things day in and day out, and
mm,
therefore their bodies are doing the same thing. Well, your mind and your body are very much so connected, and it's all in a loop.
mm.
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to Neff Inspiration, my show on YouTube and as podcast with me, your host, Stefan Neff. Today is another fantastic day for an interview because I've got Lucie Ptasznik with me. Lucie is a woman who has had her own trials and tribulations and figured out the answer to the question, would it not be great if we could rewire our brains? If we could actually look into our deep hidden core beliefs and actually start just jiggling a little bit here and there and knocking a few things loose there and say, that's not what we need. Get rid of that. Wouldn't that be great? Most of us don't even know that we have got these things running as a subsystem here. And here is a lady who has started peeling away the layers. I can't wait to talk to her. Lucie, welcome to my show.
Hi, Stefan. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, what you're doing is amazing. I mean, your work is certainly making a difference for so many people. But most of us don't just wake up one morning and say, you know what? I want to figure out how to rewire the brain. I think that's what I'm going to do in the future, and that's how I'm going to make my living. Yeah, most people don't work like that.
No, that's
How did you
typically
get
not
in?
how it
Yeah.
goes.
How did you get into that position?
Gosh, I would say I feel like ever since I was a young kid, I've always been extremely driven. I've always had a drive. And that drive has always pushed me to become the best version of myself. And by the best version of myself, I mean mentally, physically, financially, and spiritually. And I've always had this entrepreneurial spirit inside of me, ingrained in me. After like in a nutshell, I graduated college, and after I graduated college, I got scooped up into the corporate world, and I was in the corporate world for 3 years. But I had this passion of horses the entire time. I mean, from the time I can remember, I begged my dad for a horse all growing up. He never did it. He never gave in. So I had to take matters into my own hands. And so when I was 16, the day I turned 16, I got my driver's license and I put an ad on Craigslist. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Craigslist, but okay, cool. I was like, oh, I'll ride your horse for free. And then I had all of these unbroke or all of these yahoos calling me with like unbroke green broke horses that hadn't been ridden in 5 to 10 years. And here I am driving all over God's country because I was just a little girl with a big dream and all I wanted to do was ride horses. So it didn't matter how many times I got bucked off or flipped over on or ate dirt. I was not going to give up. It was a non-negotiable for me. I had this like relentless drive to just like, I want to ride horses. And so every time I got bucked off, you fail forward and you learn from your mistakes and you just give it another go. And so I just was the happiest thing to crawl right back up in the saddle with even more tenacity of like, this thing's not going to buck me off again. I'm going to teach you a lesson. And so sure enough, like I never had any formal education or instruction. The horses actually taught me everything that I know. And so I ended up meeting a horse dealer who would get in 50 horses a week. I had to ride everything and I had to sell it fast, quick, cheap, because if I didn't sell it, it was getting shipped to Canada. So here I am, 16, 17 years old, and I'm on a mission to save all the horses of the world. So I'm riding all these horses, I'm listing all these horses, I'm selling all these horses. And fast forward so many years, and I was very blessed because I ended up quitting my corporate job to pursue my passion of horses. And and now I buy, train, and sell horses all over the country. And I went on to accidentally open one of Michigan's largest public trail riding companies called High Vibe Trail Rides. So now yeah. I just love, and I don't say all that to say like, hey, look at me. It's more of like me and you are the same, and you can follow your dreams and pursue your passion. And now my whole jam is find out what your talent is and exploit it in the service of others. Because when you do that, you're going to find not only true success and fulfillment, but you're going to find abundance in every area of your life. And kind of going back to answer your original question, is that through this entrepreneurial journey, I feel just like Dr. Wayne Dyer says, I feel that we're not human beings having a spiritual experience. I think we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And I certainly feel that each one of our journeys kind of carves out a unique path for us to learn and grow spiritually and learn these lessons that allow us to grow and become the best versions, evolve into the best versions of ourselves. And when we do that, we're going to experience the best life has to offer. And in this journey, in this quest to become the best version of myself, I've sort of stumbled upon these universal laws, the law of vibration, the law of attraction. And so now my jam is teaching people essentially how to understand these laws of the universe, how to leverage them to your benefit, to essentially understand that you can have anything that you can dream of, anything that the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. So that's pretty much my place of passion and where I like speaking to just empower people. So that's where I'm at right now in the journey.
Oh, it's beautiful. Now, I'm an anesthetist, so I have spent many days and nights in the trauma theater, and quite a few equestrians have actually come across my path. So, how many bones are broken in your body?
You know what's wild? So, and that's the other thing, is that I believe that when you follow your passion, that not only do you roll on divine timing, but that you have like divine protection. And so like, I'll always say like, so I'll do these like
So you bounce
meditations.
well, in other words.
Yes, exactly. So I'll do these like prayers of gratitude. And like one of the things I say during my prayer, like every Friday morning, I lead a live prayer of gratitude in our Facebook community called Transformation Nation. And anybody can join and hop on. And one of the things that I seem to say consistently is, thank you for my army of angels that surrounds me and fiercely protects me. And so I mean, call it whatever you want to call it, but I definitely believe that your words are powerful. And when you hold certain beliefs, that whatever the belief may be, it's going to hold true. So when I was 7 or 8 years old, my friend was watching a scary movie and I ran in the other room. And when I ran, I broke my wrist. So that is actually the only broken bone that I have in my body. Thank you, Jesus. Despite all of the crazy stories. And I mean, when I tell you, Stefan, that I've ridden thousands of horses, and more than half of them, when I got on that, like when I put my foot in the saddle, I did not know if that horse was broke to ride or not. And so it's kind of like jump on and find out what the horse knows and what it doesn't know. So I've been very blessed in my journeys for sure.
Out of interest, do you have a martial arts background? Is there any training of falling, etc.? No?
No, but I will say that on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have a personal trainer named Mickey, who's an MMA fighter, and we do mitt work, like boxing. So we have a lot of fun. So sometimes he'll teach me, like elbows or like uppercuts.
And I was more thinking when I was a younger man and learned skiing when I was in my 20s, but I had all that martial arts experience beforehand. So there I was going down the slopes, and inevitably, I wasn't the greatest skier. Inevitably, it ripped me apart. But because I knew how to fall, I never hurt myself, but my falls were spectacular. So it was just everything flying everywhere, skis, poles, everything went. And then I sort of picked myself up, and people on the chairlift said, "Yay!" And that was just because of the spectacular falls. But I never hurt myself. So therefore, I was just thinking, okay, maybe there's a skill somewhere that you, well, I know there's a skill somewhere that you have, that your body has to actually protect itself. You might call it angels, you might call it whatever it is. I would cherish that particular part of you, that's for sure.
I mean, it could have been, to your point, just the years of riding crazy unbroke horses when I was a teenager and falling off so many times that I just learned how to fall off the right way. That could definitely play a solid role in that.
But because the reason I want to go there is we all fall off the horse. And for some of us, that trauma can be absolutely brutal. And some of us are staying down. We'll never get back on the horse. Some of us will have so much fear, fright, and so many scars from one time falling off the horse, or maybe many times. Sometimes horses, you don't choose to ride, but they still hurt you. There's so many variables where people don't end up coming well out of trauma. And that is probably the vast majority of people that you work with, in all fairness. So why has it come that you have become so resilient to trauma when others are struggling to overcome it?
I would definitely have to believe that. I believe the answer to that, because I've struggled with different traumas, and I've had hardships, and I've had obstacles fall in front of me that almost seemed unbearable and too much to handle. And I would say in my journey of becoming the best version of myself, reading a lot of the books that, like the self-development books, I have like a really strong background with Dr. Wayne Dyer, Abraham Hicks, Dr. Joe Dispenza. I love everything Tony Robbins. And if you follow these people, they've really made it very, very clear that there's a formula for success, because life is going to happen to you. Like, things just happen. And any successful person is going to tell you that it's 10% of what happens and 90% of how you respond. And in your response, and whatever it is, whatever life throws at you, it's so important to be aware of how you're responding to things, because so many of us are subconsciously conditioned. At the end of the day, we've all been conditioned with our past, with our parents, with traumas that we've survived, whatever it could be. Like, we are all conditioned human beings. And if you take a step back and really look at our lives are nothing more than a series of patterns that we continue to repeat over and over and over again. We're creatures of habit. And a lot of these, and some of these patterns have served us in beautiful, powerful ways for many years. And some of these patterns, we don't, like, they're unconscious, and we don't realize that these patterns are ruling our lives. And so we have patterns, like the 3 patterns that will control or kind of determine your energy or your state or your emotional state, are going to be your patterns of focus, because what you focus on, you feel. And a lot of people are very much so conditioned to always focusing on the bad, focusing on what's wrong, focusing on what could go wrong. And it's like, if you switch that and you begin to train yourself train your brain essentially and to see the silver lining and like what good can be taken away, what lessons can be learned, how can I grow, how can I take this and pivot, what different perspective could I take on? So shifting your focus in that way, your physiology, people fall into these, like, if you look at people's patterns over any period of time, whether it's a week or a month or years, a lot of people are doing the same things day in and day out, and therefore their bodies are doing the same thing. Well, your mind and your body are very much so connected, and it's all in a loop. So if you can kind of like shortcut, I guess you can shortcut it by, if you change your physiology, that's immediately going to change your state. So if you start like jumping up and down, or you start doing jumping jacks, or you start, you put your running shoes on and you go for a run, like you're going to start breathing, and it's going to change your physiology. It's going to elevate your state. It's going to raise your vibration. Because again, we live in a vibrational universe where all things move and all things vibrate. So you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. And so your highest form of currency is your energy. So that's why it's so important to become aware of your energy, becoming aware of your emotional state, because decisions shape our destiny. You are where you are today based on every decision that you've made up until this point. So if you want something to change, you're going to have to change. You're going to have to start with yourself, and you're going to have to start making different decisions. But what is the number one factor? What plays the largest role on the decisions that you make? It's your state. So the most powerful, the most successful people understand how to recognize the state that they're in or the emotions that they're experiencing, and they're able to modify that or change that or raise their vibration essentially. And so we talk a lot about what a peak state is, when you're feeling alive and you're feeling unstoppable and you feel like you can conquer the world. You're going to make very different decisions if you are feeling full of fear and depressed and scared and full of anxiety and worry. So therefore, we ask the question, okay, well, how many hours of the day are you residing in a peak state? And how many hours are you residing in anything other than that? And then it's like, well, how many hours a week are you in a peak state? How many hours a month are you in a peak state? So therefore, we help people not only access those like peak emotional states, but also maintain them. Because when you are living in these high vibrational frequencies of love and joy and gratitude and bliss and excitement, you're going to be feeling different. And therefore, you're going to make different decisions. And those decisions are going to help you move you closer to your goals, take massive action towards your goals, but also be aware enough when life throws a wrench in your plans, instead of just reacting in your normal, however it is that you're going to react, being able to be like, oh, wait, I'm not going to let an outside circumstance disturb my inner state, because I'm not going to give my power away to something that's outside of me. So I think that awareness plays a huge role in just overcoming any hardships that are thrown your way.
That's so true. That's so true. And you've had many nuggets there in
I know that was a lot.
Oh, no, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And I think it's the privilege of choice that we don't see that is in front of us. It is a privilege. At every 1 second, we have choices to make. And these choices might be as simple as, do I want to drink a glass of water or not? Not realizing that each and every outcome is determined by multiple little choices, and that we have got the power of action. And whilst I very much understand and I very much accept the peak state, we are still human beings. And here we are, I mean, every year, 31st of December, 1st of January, yes, we gotta start new. We are off work, we're gonna throw ourselves in, I gonna lose 200 kilograms and I gonna make 5 trillions this year. by the 9th of January, you're hitting the pizza, and with that, you're reducing the chances dramatically that you make those 5 trillions. So the peak state often works for a little while. People going to Tony Robbins events, no doubt you are driven for several days, and then very quickly you crash, because that level of peak is not sustainable. These are glimpses of something, but your body is not designed to, at least, let's rephrase, you can design your body to be at that level. Most of us have not done the groundwork. So therefore, any attempt to jump that high will inevitably cause falls that are just as low. So therefore, we need to start building up small steps, incremental steps that are actually moving forward. So peak state, absolutely. And the state, just changing your state is powerful. It's so powerful, isn't it? Exactly.
Yeah. It's everything.
Isn't it? What is your favorite exercise to change your state if you are finding yourself in a low mood and you don't want to be in that mood?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Okay, so we actually put together this 16-week program, and essentially it gives you a toolbox, and it allows you, because when you have this toolbox and you have all of these different things that allow you to change your state, in being in the recognition and the work, you're actually reprogramming your subconscious mind. So so my favorite thing is probably meditation. I started meditating when I was 22, and it pretty much changed my life. And I like to tell everybody that if there's one thing I would recommend you do that is going to guarantee you awesome results, it's going to be to meditate. And I know that some people will say things like, oh, well, I just don't know how to meditate, or it's just not for me, or I just can't shut my mind off. Like, those are the people that I want to encourage, that like, you're doing the work and you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. That's how this journey, meditation's a practice, and it's not something that you're just going to do one time and totally get it. And I mean, me, who I've been meditating for over a decade now, like I still, thoughts come in, and then you just lovingly release them. It's the recognition of the thoughts, because our thoughts become things, and every moment is a manifested miracle based on the things that we're thinking, the things that we're speaking, and the actions that we're taking. So if we know that our thoughts control our reality, like, when was the last time you really thought about what you think about? So meditation kind of gives us that space. Meditation means, like, the definition of meditation is to become aware of oneself. And so when you close your eyes and you start breathing and you get centered and you focus on, let's say, your breath, and there's so many different kinds of meditation that it's not just limited to one thing or another. There's a whole bunch of different kinds. Sometimes I like to mix it up depending on how I'm feeling in the morning. But essentially, the idea is to quiet your mind, because if we think 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and 90% of those thoughts on average are negative, or negative self-talk, then we're constantly tearing ourselves down, beating ourselves up, and we're really not being our biggest cheerleader. We're really not doing ourselves we're really doing ourselves a grand disservice by paying any attention to that mind, or to that voice in our mind. So therefore, meditation allows us to get really familiar with that voice in our mind and just quiet it. And if it does chirp up or thoughts come in, just lovingly release them. And so that practice of like getting intentional and recognizing when a thought comes and then allowing it to come, because the beautiful thing that like we really need to understand is that we are not our thoughts. We are the observers of our thoughts. And that just because we think a thought doesn't mean it's true. Just because we carry a belief, just because we've had a belief for years and years and years, that doesn't mean that all a belief is a thought that we keep thinking. And so at any given time, we can choose to scratch that belief out and rewrite a new one. So that's kind of like the freedom that meditation grants us. And so a lot of times if if I feel like my energy's off, if I feel like I'm operating out of alignment, I've gotten to the point where like I know immediately. I'm like, I don't feel like full. I don't feel like I'm a radiating like, ball of energy. I don't feel super amazing at this very exact moment in time. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to show up for me this way. And I don't want to show up for my family, friends, loved ones in this way because I'm not doing anybody a service. So what I like to do is I might just go meditate, and that might just be like the 10 minutes, taking 10 minutes. And so in that 10 minutes of quieting your mind, intentionally raising your vibration, and then it's like you walk out of that meditation 10 minutes later, a totally different person. Like it's like you gift yourself time to feel peace, to feel bliss, to feel serenity. And it's just like life can be really distracting and full of chaos and carnage. So it's really nice to be intentional with where we're placing our focus. And I feel like meditation is a very powerful tool.
Mm. And a lot of people think our meditation is such a passive thing, and I want to take action. When you actually meditate, you're taking actually a lot of actions. You just don't realize it. And it is, you're actually focusing right now with the meditation. You're focusing on your breathing. Your breathing will calm down. So you're actually, with deep diaphragmatic breathing, you will actually massage your vagus nerve. You will actually switch off the sympathetic nervous system, empower the parasympathetic nervous system that now resets your body. Also, all those anxiety waves, all those fears, these are neurochemicals washing over your brain. These are waves, and waves come and go. So if you actually just give yourself some time, strengthen the healing part of your body, the parasympathetic, and dampen down the sympathetic fight, flight, freeze, fawn kind of response, you're taking a lot of action. And suddenly 10 minutes have passed and you're actually feeling, oh, okay, it's actually not so bad. And that's the beautiful thing. It is. You're quite right. I 100% agree with you. And for those of you out there who are thinking meditation, that's some Eastern philosophy, mumbo jumbo. In reality, meditation is intentional living, and right now focusing on here and now. This could be prayer. Prolonged prayer can do the same if you're a religious person. If you want to go for a run or a long walk, that can become very meditative. There are many ways how you can come to the same endpoint. So if the word meditation irks you, well, don't just throw the baby out with the bathwater. There are many ways how you can achieve exactly the same outcome. Okay.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because sometimes people do, especially people that are very ingrained in their religious beliefs. They're like, oh, well, meditation's not for me. But I'm like, one of my favorite meditations is my prayer of gratitude. And so my prayer of gratitude, it's a rampage of appreciation. And all I do is I close my eyes and I breathe and I say like, dear God, thank you for this beautiful moment. Thank you for my breath. Thank you for the beauty and abundance that surrounds me. And I roll with it. And so it's a really, it's a really beautiful gift that you can give yourself, just those, like I said, 5, 10, 15 minutes every morning. And I recommend people do it in the morning. Sometimes, so your subconscious mind is most susceptible or most open, like right when you wake up or right when you go to sleep. So meditating during both of those times, you're going to feel benefits from them. If you have to choose, I prefer to do it at the beginning of the day, just because when you meditate and you meditation is essentially raising your vibration, because because all of the negativity, all of the worry, all of the stress, all of the fears, all of the limiting beliefs, you're letting them go, you're releasing them, you're putting them down, you're allowing them to just wash away from you. And in the releasing and the surrendering, then your vibration automatically begins to rise. And again, we don't attract what we want, we attract what we are. And so therefore, as we raise our vibrations, first thing, as soon as our eyes open, then that sets our entire day up for success. And therefore, anything that crosses our path for the rest of the day, whether it's people, places, circumstances, business meetings, traffic as we move through the day, whatever it is that we're experiencing, are going to be a much elevated, much more positive, fulfilling experience. And so that's why I will not leave my house if I don't, like, I won't even, I try to not even start my day, get out of bed until I meditate, just because like I've done it a handful of times where it's like, oh, I forgot to set my alarm and I woke up late and oh my gosh, like I just need to like get dressed and run out the door and I just need to go there. Like I'm already late. Like, no, stop. Like you've done this game before. You know, it does not serve you to start the day without meditation, because then want to know what happens? Then you forget you go to the house that you were going to and you forget the keys and you're like, oh my God, now I gotta drive all the way back. Or you take the wrong turn and then you get stuck by a train and then the train holds you up for 15 minutes or just like random things happen that normally wouldn't have happened that like set you back. Yeah. And so that's why I like to say, like, one of the best things you can do for time management is take time to meditate, because it's going to put you on a whole nother timeline where things just flow and reality bends to your whim. And all of a sudden you're rolling on divine timing and doors open and opportunities present themselves and things just work out in a fashion like to surprise and delight you. So go meditation.
I think the other thing to say is that we undervalue, or we don't even appreciate, the power of actually deciding to change a habit. Your sheer determination right there and then to say, okay, actually, I will get up 5 minutes earlier. It's only 5 minutes or maybe 10 minutes, even if you can do that, and actually put that time in for myself. You're no longer a passive victim of your circumstance. You have actually recognized that you are in power, that you can control something, and that might be your own state, and that is often a fantastic starting point. And I think that is so beautiful. You're no longer the passive victim, but you're now taking steps to change yourself. And the moment you change, inevitably the world around you changes, because there's a flow and effect, and it is beautiful. It is beautiful because if you, I often talk about the 5-minute gardener. If you from now on decide that every day, come rain or shine, that you will spend 5 minutes in your garden, never less, never more. 5 minutes, one day you prune, next day you plant something, then you pick something. Within a week, you see a change in the garden. Within a month, your family thinks, oh, the garden looks nice. And within 3 months, you've got tour buses coming along checking your garden out. So it is amazing the amount of change you can achieve by small but consistent changes into the right direction. Now imagine those 5 minutes invested would be in meditation. And you could maybe say, I do a month now, I do a little challenge. For a month, I will do 5 minutes a day of meditation, accepting that there will be days when my mind goes like a squirrel on pee, or that other days will be, wow. But just as much as if you would decide, okay, for 5 minutes a day, I will lift weights to increase the circumference of my biceps. After a month, you're going to have a very nice biceps. Thank you very much. Like it or lump it. This will not happen immediately. This will not happen like that. No instant satisfaction. Sorry, guys. But over a month, things will change dramatically. And this is your choice. This is the power of choice. This is the privilege of choice. But for that, you need to recognize that you actually want to change and that you have got the ability to change. And that's where the rewiring comes in, isn't it? Where you actually allow people to just stop for a moment and think, whoa, okay, this is my life. And these are the masks that I'm putting up. Okay, so so it's hard. I mean, here we are. I think the talking to each other, it's preaching to the converted. But I think what are the main stumble stones? What are the main obstacles that people put into their own way that hold them back?
I think the number one thing that people hold that holds people back are their stories and their identities. Those two things, their stories are what they tell themselves, like what their past has been, what their belief systems are. So, okay, so my program is based off of 3 pillars: energy, desire, and belief. And kind of like we talked about energy, that your state's super important because you create your own reality based on what you think and the energy that you put out. Desire is having absolute clarity around what you want. And then belief is kind of the bridge that takes you from where you're at to where you want to go. Because you can know with absolute clarity everything that, like, all of your heart's desires, you can be really focused on that. But if you don't believe that you're worthy of that, if you don't love yourself enough, if you don't know that, like, if you don't understand that, like, you are capable and able, there's always going to be a vibrational discrepancy, and it's always just going to be out of reach. So I really like, one of my favorite things that I'll have my clients do is get really honest with where they're at and analyze all of the stories that compose their life. What are the stories that they tell people? What are the stories that they tell them, that they tell themselves? A lot of times, and a lot of times, these stories that shape our lives shape who we are. They shape our identity. They are the reason that we believe that we are the person that we are today based on the things that we've lived and the things that we've overcome. And it's all about shifting from that victim mindset, like you had stated earlier, because a lot of these stories that we allow ourselves to live in don't serve us. And a lot of these stories carry a lot of limiting beliefs that we didn't even realize. Like, we've never considered looking at these beliefs from a different angle and perhaps challenging them and be like, could there be a better way? Could this be a story that I'm making up? Sometimes people, and that could be something along the lines of like, oh, well, bad things happen to good people, or money can just be difficult to make, or whatever the story could be in your life that's just not serving you. That's the way it's always been. Well, just because you don't have to be defined by the story of your past. You don't have to be defined by your current circumstances. And that's why we talk about every moment as a manifested miracle, and this illusion of a 3D reality that you're experiencing with your senses right here, right now. This is like a hologram of what your past thinking has landed you. So if you want to improve your reality, you're going to have to improve your thoughts. And therefore, it's pretty wild to think, but like journaling is another one of my favorite things. So rewriting your story and then rewriting your future. So many people, like, emotions are triggered by events that we've experienced. So usually emotions are the things that we experience secondary to any event in our life. And then when we experience those emotions, it essentially allows us to create more of the same, if you will. So in the Newtonian model of reality, it's kind of cause and effect. So an event happens and we feel emotions because of it. But in the quantum model of reality, we are causing an effect, which means that we're embodying the emotions of the future we want to create. We're experiencing what we already want to feel. And in doing that, we are attracting that reality or that circumstance to us faster than ever before. It's kind of like become the person who you desire to be. Like write out, like, what is the future? There's a meditation that we do that's very, very, very powerful. And it's you close your eyes and you imagine the future, like the best version of yourself, the future you. And you take inventory of this person. What does this person look like? How are they dressed? How are they speaking? What are the thoughts that they're thinking? What are the beliefs that this person carries? And how are they different than the beliefs that I carry? What do I need to level up my game to become my future self or the highest version of myself? And it's like a beautiful and very powerful exercise. And that is essentially like it's really taking a deep look at your concept of self or your self-image, because we are never going to outperform our own identities. It's kind of like Ed Milet talks about how we have a thermostat, an identity thermostat. And if we're a 75 degreeer and, we start falling behind and we're like 50 degrees, like it's no longer acceptable. So we're going to turn up the heat in our life and we're going to push to become that 70, because that's where we're at, 75 degrees. But the same thing goes. And then we start experiencing great success. And now we're at 98, 99 degrees. We're crushing life. But that's not who we fundamentally believe that we are. Exactly. So then we kind of start to slack, or we allow the limiting beliefs to creep in, or we allow those habits that don't necessarily serve us. They start to creep back in, and then we allow ourselves to fall back. It's kind of like that little game of self-sabotage that we'll unintentionally play. So therefore, the name of the game is transforming your identity. And that all begins with the neurological reprogramming, becoming the best version of yourself. And you can't, it starts with a desire, having that burning desire and like really wanting it, because like there's want, which lives in the conscious mind. So many people want things. It's easy to want, but converting that want to a desire and then putting that want and making that desire live in the subconscious mind, that the desire lives in your subconscious mind when your behavior changes. Because when your behavior changes, that's when you start doing the hard stuff.
Exactly.
On the other side of I don't feel like it is where greatness lives. So that's why we have to push ourselves past our comfort zone and stop doing what's easy or what's familiar, because we're never going to experience all of the beauty and abundance that life has to offer if we remain hostage in our comfort zones.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And you're so right there. And the limiting beliefs are exactly that. Once upon a time, it was clear that no man ever would run faster at a mile than 4 minutes. That's just impossible, absolutely impossible. Until 1954, Roger Bannister did it the first time. Within a year, I think a dozen other runners achieved a thing that was deemed impossible for humans to achieve. So talk about limiting beliefs. And the moment you crush it, the moment you say, hey, that's actually not limiting anymore, is it? And I think that is the beautiful thing. The other way that the other thing that you have described so beautiful is the distinction between a dream that is sort of vague and sort of there, and a dream you often can't actually put it in words. The moment you actually put it in words, it becomes a vision. So now you become crystal clear from this vague kind of thing. You have crystal clear idea of this vision there. And then you can turn it into a mission by actually starting to take action. So these are the two amazing steps that get you towards this new you. And I think 80% of the action is just showing up. But
Oh,
you
yeah.
actually just showing up to the race, and even if you crawl that race, if you actually, if you walk that race, who cares? You are 99% further than the guy who didn't even show up. Okay, so and I think it's those kind of things that I guess, Lucy, you and I want to encourage people to go out there and actually say, wow. Okay, life is a bitch. Things are really, really hard right now. And yeah, they are hard. No two ways around it. Can I change them? Often enough, the answer is no. Can I do something about the way how I show up? Yes. You can actually do so many little things. For example, looking after yourself. For example, the meditation, giving yourself that 5 minutes of rest amidst the chaos, amidst the crazy times when everyone wants you and where all your masks and defense mechanisms want to come out and play, where you, on the one hand, want to get drunk and just forget all about it, escape reality. On the other hand, you want to people please, be there for everyone. And when was the last time you looked after yourself? Sounds familiar?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Guilty as charged. So bottom line is we all have those core beliefs. We all have those maybe not so good for you coping mechanisms. So maybe it's time, just maybe. And maybe there is hope. Maybe there's help. And I guess that's where you come in, Lucy, isn't it? Because if we all could create power teams where we are the dumbest people in a team, and where actually you surround yourself with people who are further down the road. It is said that if you surround yourself with 6 millionaires, it's very hard not to become a millionaire. If you surround yourself with 6 painters or artists, it's very hard for your creativity to remain silent. How about you surround yourself with people like Lucy? And actually go out there and see what kind of lessons you can learn that are applicable right now, right here to your life. And what could be your journey from dream to vision to mission? Who do you want to be when you grow up? I think that is the question that you can start dreaming about and maybe jump through those steps. Wouldn't that be amazing? So, Lucy, if people want to get to know more about you, if people want to find you, where can they go?
Yeah. So we have this robust 16-week program that is designed to give people a full toolbox of tools and techniques. That way they can start implementing in their lives today, whether that's meditation or gratitude practices or journaling, or I love to talk about intention setting is probably one of my favorite topics, just because the power of intention is insane. And when you understand and begin to harness the power of intention, I like to call it, you're putting your order in with the universe. Whatever your imagination can dream up, all you have to do is write it down and have faith, have positive expectation, and do the work every single day. And all the work is, want to know what it is? It's just staying happy. It's just being positive. It's just helping others, being of service, contributing, giving back. Like that's all the work is being a light in this world. And so when you say like this, we live in a limitless, abundant universe. And so we can be, do, have anything that we want. We can have it all. And so with intention setting, all you have to do is write it down and then allow yourself to step into the receiving mode of that thing, and it can truly be yours. So we have several different exercises on intention setting, whether it's doing your tomorrow's forecast or your monthly intentions.
Mm.
It's very exciting for me just because I've seen the wildest, craziest, just such fun, unexpected things that people have wrote down in their journals and read to me, and they're like, okay, well, this month I'd like to manifest this, and this.
Mm.
And then I don't want to say like they didn't believe that they could, but they just kind of threw it out there as in like, wouldn't it be nice if? And sure enough, God stepped up, the universe, whatever you want to call it, stepped up, and like God always has your back. The universe always has your back. Like you just have to have faith and trust the process and enjoy each step of the journey. So
Mm.
what we've done for your audience is if they go to ultimatesuccessblueprint.com/steps to sobriety, they can download a free condensed, it's like a free training of our 16-week program where it's pretty much where we just pour out a bunch of tips, tricks, techniques, tools that people can start implementing in their day, in their
Mm.
life, to start seeing instantaneous results. And it's pretty crazy when you start doing the work and shift your attitude, how
Mm.
the synchronicities will start to happen and opportunities will begin to present themselves. And then once you get that momentum started, buckle up, baby, because you're in for an amazing ride.
Oh, wow. Lucie, you're an amazing woman. Thank you so much for being a guest on my show. And for you guys out there, look down there into the description of the YouTube video and of the podcast. You've got all the information about Lucie in there. Whilst you're down there, press the like and subscribe button that you don't miss any of the amazing guests that I have got the honor of interviewing on my show. But ultimately, we all have got the opportunity to make this world a better place. Yeah, it's okay to grumble and to be upset about the world. Right now, there are many reasons why we should be upset about this world. But we also have got the power to change within, and therefore we have got the power to radiate those positive vibes out, and with that we can change the world. But we need to start with ourselves, and I think, Lucie, you're an amazing woman who allows people to fast track that process rather than us trying to reinvent the wheel. And I think that is the key process here. Lucie, thank you so much for being a guest on my show. That was a blast of an interview.
I had so much fun, Stefan. Thank you so much. I love your work and I had an amazing time.
Oh, thank you. And you guys out there, look after yourself and live with passion. Bye.
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.